This isn't gonna end well for you, Blake. Sorry.
Justin Baldoni just obliterated Blake Lively and her pathetic web of lies in court.
None of it was just due to the fact that she seems like a rather shitty person.
Even Ryan Reynolds didn't bother defending his so-called lovely wife because he knows she's dragging him down with her.
Both of you are raging narcissists.
Now, Blake's losing her career, her credibility, and possibly every last dollar she has. Let's just take a moment to appreciate the absolute disaster Blake Lively walked into when she decided to pick a fight with Justin Baldoni. I mean, 90 minutes in court, that's all it took for Justin to completely obliterate her legal team and score a major victory.
Parties, of course, meeting for the first time in court today. It was about a 90-minute hearing.
Not 90 days, not 90 hours, just 90 minutes for her case to start crumbling like stale Hollywood popcorn. This wasn't even the final trial, and already Blake and her legal team were scrambling like clueless interns on their first day in a law office.
He is, his agent is Ari Emanuel. He's a powerful Hollywood guy, and we all respond to Hollywood power. And there's a hypocrisy and a fraudulence there that the public is picking up on. And so that's really interesting. Now,
and why did we end up here? Because Blake thought she could pull a Hollywood power move, hitting Justin with a massive $250 million lawsuit over harassment claims, probably thinking he'd just fold under pressure.
She decided to blame him, and boy, did she open up a hornet's nest and learn, be careful what you wish for, because now you've got the fight you asked for, and you're not winning it.
But Justin Baldoni flipped the entire script on her, came back swinging with a $400 million counter lawsuit, and just like that, Blake went from playing offense to full-on panic mode.
Justin does a better job, in my opinion, of providing receipts and showing full context.
Let's be real. She thought she had this in the bag. She had the New York Times, Ryan Reynolds, and Hollywood elites behind her. But none of that mattered when actual facts started rolling in.
He really sees this all the way through and makes sure we get to discovery and proves how disgusting some of these high-level celebrities can be.
And speaking of brutal reality checks, the judge was not here for Blake's nonsense. Every single motion her legal team filed, denied. Imagine coming in with your high-powered attorneys, expecting the court to bow to your Hollywood status, and then getting rejected at every turn. Not one, not two, but every single one of her legal attempts to control the narrative got thrown straight in the trash.
and I would say another reason that the public didn't respond well to this was because we have already accurately deduced that the both of you are raging narcissists.
The best part? She's not even at trial yet, and she's already taking massive legal L's. At this rate, she might not even make it to March 2026 before completely crashing and burning. If Blake's legal team thought they were stepping into a polite courtroom debate, they were violently mistaken. Because Friedman? He didn't just show up to fight. He showed up to annihilate. From the second he stepped into that courtroom, Blake's lawyers looked like they'd rather be anywhere else.
In a world where sometimes people judge you before they give you a chance.
First order of business. That pathetic gag order Blake tried to file, desperately hoping to silence Justin and his lawyer from exposing her. Because let's be real, the last thing Blake wants is people actually knowing the truth. But guess what? The judge wasn't having any of it. The ruling? Denied. Which means Friedman is free to rip into Blake's case all day, every day, in front of the entire world.
Judge chose to not impose the gag order on Justin Baldoni's attorney Brian Friedman today, but did threaten to move up the trial if the media press war continued.
And let's talk about how badly Blake's legal team was struggling, because they had no response to Friedman's brutal takedown. No counter-arguments, no defense, just blank stares and stammering as Friedman shredded their case apart like it was a bad movie script. Every legal motion they filed, instant rejection. The judge didn't even entertain their nonsense. This wasn't just a loss. It was a complete courtroom slaughter.
On Monday, they're going to court because two things. Blake is trying to gag them. I don't think that's going to go through. How can you try to say you're playing this in the press when the entire reason we got here was because you tried to play this in the press? Like, you went to the New York Times to try to take him down and to set a public narrative.
But the biggest humiliation? Blake was forced to face Friedman head-on in her deposition. Did she think she could just handpick a gentle attorney to ask her soft questions? Absolutely not. The judge straight up told her, You don't get to choose who questions you, and that means she's going to have to sit there, under oath, while Friedman picks apart every single one of her lies.
And she's basically saying that she does not want to sit down for a deposition with Brian Friedman. Like, I know that this girl grew up rich and privileged, but how rich we talking? You know what I'm saying? Because does she think she's just like a princess that she can just be like, I don't like your lawyer?
And speaking of lies, guys, Blake Lively has been caught in some career-ending fabrications.
Does she think she's just like a princess that she can just be like, I don't like your lawyer and I don't want to sit down with him and answer questions and tell the truth? So she's trying to get out of having to sit down and be deposed by Brian Friedman. Like, sweetheart, that's not your option.
You know what's absolutely hilarious? The massive contradiction in her entire story. She goes from crying about how she felt uncomfortable around Justin to texting him about how much she loved working with him. Like, pick a lane, Blake. You can't accuse someone of making you uncomfortable and then send them excited, appreciative messages talking about how rewarding it is to collaborate with them.
Blake Lively's complaint of harassment. He called me sexy. I felt so uncomfortable. Why would you do that? Well, here's one point where she's calling him a ball buster. I'm just a ball buster.
And let's talk receipts, because Justin has them. All of them. The 179-page lawsuit is packed with evidence, text messages, emails, and even video footage that completely destroys Blake's story.
We just went through Justin's 179-page lawsuit, and I am shook.
The best part? Some of these texts show Blake making off-color jokes herself. You know, the same kind of jokes she's now pretending made her so uncomfortable. The hypocrisy is off the charts.
It does seem like by some of the texts that we've seen that they have a very friendly relationship at the beginning of this process. Clearly that started to fall apart as time went on.
And then there's the bombshell. Video footage exists that proves Blake was lying. Oh, she thought she could make up a whole new reality, forgetting that cameras were literally rolling. Now, not only is her credibility in the gutter, but she's about to be exposed in front of the entire world.
I know this gets overused now, but she did FAFO. Like, she thought she could blame all of her negative press on him. He's a weakling. She's Blake Lively with Ryan Reynolds, her dragon.
And let's not forget about Ryan Reynolds, who just looks like a complete fool at this point. This dude really thought he could play Hollywood kingmaker, backing Blake in this ridiculous lawsuit, only to find out that Justin had all the receipts.
He's surrounded by friends because he's a very small, insecure man. And so what makes Ryan feel good about himself is money and power.
He was out here helping Blake spin the narrative, probably thinking his charm and Deadpool jokes would carry them through. But newsflash, this is the real world, and facts actually matter. Now, instead of looking like a protective husband, Ryan looks like an accessory to one of the biggest PR disasters Hollywood has ever seen.
Because what's actually funny to him is not the sexual harassment. What's funny to him is that he found a tool to be able to stage a hostile takeover of a business. And they were high. They were totally high on their own supply of power. They were enjoying it. They were enjoying humiliating Justin Baldoni. Like I said, they got so close.
And speaking of PR disasters, Blake's entire reputation is dead. Hollywood sweetheart? Nope. Feminist icon? Nope. Instead, she's being dragged by the entire internet. Hashtag Team Justin is trending, while Blake's fanbase is collapsing faster than her lawsuit. People aren't buying her lies anymore. Even some of her most loyal supporters are turning on her, realizing that she played the media, manipulated Hollywood, and tried to destroy an innocent man for power.
It's part of being in the public eye. She's just used to being Hollywood's golden girl, and she had such thin skin that after having a couple negative things happen to her for a month, she had to blame him. She decided to blame him.
But here's the reality. Blake can't run from this. She can't PR her way out of this courtroom nightmare. She thought she could ride on her Hollywood status, her A-list friendships, and the media backing her up. But Justin Baldoni just exposed all of it.
Is they're watching everyone on TikTok, they're watching everyone on Instagram say, what you did is not okay. And they're standing in front of the world and they're saying, we can't be canceled because we're too connected. So what? Sorry for the rest of you guys. Sorry for the rest of you idiots who are beneath us. We just have to make a phone call to Ari Emanuel and we can get into a skit. And how we treat people doesn't matter.
This isn't just some celebrity feud anymore. This is a career-ending, bank account draining, reputation-destroying disaster that she walked into with her own arrogance. And here's the best part. Blake might end up paying him instead. That's right. She's the one who picked this fight, and now she's looking at a lawsuit so massive, it could wipe her out entirely. Let's do some quick math because numbers don't lie, but Blake sure does.
She is accused of having turned the whole cast of It Ends With Us against Justin.
Blake Lively's estimated net worth? $50 million. Ryan Reynolds, the walking PR machine with a Deadpool mask glued to his face? $350 million. Justin Baldoni's counter lawsuit? $400 million.
Actor-director Justin Baldoni is now suing his former co-star Blake Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds, seeking more than $400 million in damages, accusing them of defamation and extortion.
That's more than their combined net worth. If Blake loses this case, which at this point is almost guaranteed, she won't just suffer a little financial setback, she will financially cease to exist. Imagine spending your entire career building a Hollywood fortune, only to lose it because you couldn't stop lying. And before she starts thinking she can just settle and walk away, the judge just ruled that both lawsuits are now merged into one massive case. There is no escape hatch, no easy way out. Blake is locked into this fight until the bitter end. And let's be honest, the end is looking really bitter for her.
When the entire reason we got here was because you tried to play this in the press. Like, you went to the New York Times to try to take him down and to set a public narrative. And now that it's backfiring, you want out.
And let's not forget the Hollywood effect. If Blake loses a $400 million defamation case, what studio in their right mind would ever work with her again? Hollywood may love a scandal, but they sure as hell don't like a proven liar who costs them millions. You think Marvel, Warner Bros., or any major production company wants her toxic reputation tied to their projects? Not a chance. She's already losing credibility, and soon she'll be losing jobs.
You guys went to the New York Times. Oh, nobody could be bigger than the New York Times before you filed your lawsuit, as all of the evidence is indicating, because you wanted to set the public narrative against Justin Baldoni. Now that it's backfiring, you're like, hey, I want people gagged. This is unprofessional to go to the press. Everyone sees right through you and Ryan.
Now, what does someone with no credibility and no legal ground do? They run to their PR team for damage control. And what a disaster that turned out to be. Blake and Ryan must have thought they were geniuses when they decided to waltz onto the red carpet at SNL's 50th anniversary. Because what better way to handle a legal dumpster fire than by pretending everything is fine, right? Wrong. This was desperation at its finest. Instead of looking powerful and untouchable, they looked like clueless celebrities who can't read the room.
But no, they wanted to be seen. They wanted their photos to be publicized. They wanted people to see them smiling amongst their A-list friends. And then it gets, of course, worse because they wanted to be so seen that Ryan Reynolds, of course, inserted himself into an SNL cameo.
And Ryan, in all his infinite wisdom, decided to make jokes about the lawsuit. Seriously. What kind of husband makes a mockery of a case where his wife is supposedly the victim of harassment? But the best part? The internet immediately turned on him.
There was this vicious reaction to this. These are just some of the top comments that were on SNL's Instagram posts. They wrote, the top comment here, it was funny until the cringe Ryan Reynolds couple made it awkward. Read the room, get out. Could have done without Ryan and Blake, so exhausting. Missing Ryan Gosling, which is really funny.
Fans saw right through the act, and the comment section on SNL's Instagram was a complete bloodbath.
Get it? He's just being his funny Deadpool self, guys. It's so ironic, and it's so funny. He's like mocking the situation.
Imagine thinking you're making a power move, only to end up embarrassing yourself in front of millions. Ryan wanted this to be his moment, a smooth PR distraction, but instead, it was the final nail in the coffin of their credibility.
I didn't know Saturday Night Live approves bullying from Ryan and Blake, and that is kind of one of the, first and foremost, deep ironies of what's going on here, is the fact that Saturday Night Live has made itself almost an enemy, I would say, of half of America.
And then came Brian Friedman, the lawyer who has made it his life's mission to obliterate Blake Lively in court. He roasted Ryan Reynolds in the media, pointing out the obvious. What kind of man mocks his wife's supposed harassment case?
I'm unaware of anybody, frankly, whose wife has been sexually harassed and has made jokes about that.
If Blake was telling the truth, shouldn't Ryan be furious instead of cracking jokes on national television? Shouldn't he be protecting her instead of making this a comedy skit? The whole thing reeked of damage control gone horribly wrong.
He's a very small, insecure man. And so what makes Ryan feel good about himself is money and power and proximity to power.
Instead of fixing their image, they just made themselves look even guiltier. And the worst part? Hollywood is noticing. These A-list celebrities thought they were above public scrutiny, but now they're drowning in it. And then came the final dagger. The internet. Because let's be real, once the internet turns against you, it's game over. Blake Lively isn't just losing in court, she's losing in the court of public opinion too. Social media has become a war zone, and Blake is losing.
You think you can simply hit up your A-list friends to further enable your abuse. Basically what they are signaling by hitting this carpet and intentionally getting photographed.
TikTok detectives and YouTube legal analysts have done more investigative work than her own legal team. They're pulling apart her lawsuit, dissecting every contradiction, and exposing every single inconsistency. And guess what? It's bad. Really bad. Leaked emails and texts completely destroy the victim narrative she's been pushing. They prove she wasn't some helpless actress being mistreated on set. She was pulling the strings, trying to control the production, and making decisions at every turn.
Many women who have actually survived sexual abuse, sexual harassment, whatever it is, rape, real rape, who are offended to watch this couple pretend that she is a victim of it as they just can't stop mocking it.
And here's the worst part. Blake's own words are betraying her. In interviews, behind-the-scenes clips, and messages, she contradicts her own claims, proving she was comfortable, collaborative, and even friendly with Justin. How do you go from laughing and joking with someone one day to accusing them of harassment the next? And the internet isn't letting this go. #cancel Blake Lively is trending. Her supporters are jumping ship. She's losing control of the narrative faster than she lost in court.
She wrested his movie away from him and decided to try to hurt him with petty, made-up, out-of-context complaints.
This is the worst-case scenario for Blake. She's being dragged by the media, destroyed in court, and roasted online all at the same time. And Ryan Reynolds? His PR tactics are failing too. Blake Lively wanted this fight. Now she's losing it on every possible front. Ryan's wealth isn't just sitting in some safe deposit box. It's tied up in major business ventures like Aviation Gin, Mint Mobile, and Wrexham FC. You think a $400 million courtroom loss won't rattle his investors? Think again. His net worth sits at $350 million, and Blake barely scrapes in at $50 million. Which means if she loses, they're both financially doomed. And this isn't just a small PR hit. This is potentially career-ending, because if there's one thing Hollywood hates more than a scandal, it's financial instability. And let's not forget how hard Ryan tried to blacklist Justin Baldoni, the same guy who was just minding his business, directing movies, and building his career, only to have Ryan and Blake use their A-list connections to try and destroy him. Oh, how the tables have turned. Because now, Ryan is the one whose career is at risk.
Is because, Ryan, you are forgetting this case is supposed to be about sexual abuse, right? You have told us that your wife suffered a form of sexual harassment, and yet, for whatever reason, you cannot stop mocking that sexual harassment in front of every camera that you see.
Deadpool 3, that's his golden ticket. But if public opinion shifts against him, that release could be in serious trouble. We've seen public boycotts destroy careers before. Just ask Johnny Depp, Armie Hammer, or Kevin Spacey. Disney isn't going to want a PR disaster attached to one of their biggest Marvel movies, and if Ryan doesn't distance himself from this soon, he could become collateral damage. And that raises the big question. Will Ryan Reynolds ditch Blake to save himself? Because he's not stupid, he knows what's at stake. If Blake goes down and he stays attached to her, he's going down too. Hollywood is a brutal game, and self-preservation always comes first.
in Hollywood. My own position is she's absolutely ruined her brand. She has started a fight she cannot win. She does appear like an Amber Heard to me.
And speaking of Hollywood's elite, they are running from Blake like she has the plague. Blake probably thought her A-list friends would come rushing to her defense, but instead, they've ghosted her completely. Scarlett Johansson, silent. Taylor Swift, not a single word of support. Every big-name celebrity who once smiled for photos with Blake is suddenly nowhere to be found.
She called herself Khaleesi and said Ryan Reynolds and we believe Taylor Swift were her dragons. And she's got the best dragons because they'll fight on behalf of her friends too.
And let's not forget, Blake's own legal team hinted that other actresses might step forward to support her case. That's right. They basically tried to suggest that more women would come forward with allegations against Justin Baldoni. But guess what happened? Absolutely nothing.
I have yet to see one of her complaints borne out. In fact, all of the ones I've seen have been undermined by his hardcore proof in text messaging and so on that puts a totally different light on her horrific allegations. Then you see what she actually said and wrote. It's very different.
Not one single actress has stepped forward to back Blake up. Not one. That's how you know this case is dead in the water. If there was real evidence, if Blake's claims had any actual merit, people would be supporting her. Instead, the silence is deafening.
Now she and Taylor are reportedly on the outs because Taylor Swift is like, bitch, I'm nobody's dragon. That's unconfirmed, but it's out there.
And even major news outlets are pulling back. The New York Times, which was more than happy to publish Blake's claims at first, is now backing away. They're not doubling down, they're not defending her, they're just fading into the background. And why? Because they know exactly where this is going. Because let's be real, there is no coming back from this. If Blake loses this lawsuit, her entire life implodes.
They released the cut of the movie. He didn't even get to see it. He was the director of the film, the producer of the film, the guy who got the rights to the film, the one who's supposed to be in control. He didn't even get to see it. He was in the basement at his own movie premiere. And then she had the nerve, because she had 2 minutes of bad publicity when the film hit, to come out and try to blame it all on him.
Let's lay it out plain and simple. Financial devastation. A $400 million loss would wipe her out completely. She doesn't have that kind of money, and Ryan sure as hell isn't going to throw his entire fortune down the drain to cover her mess. Career blacklist. Hollywood doesn't forgive losing a high-profile defamation case. Studios won't risk hiring someone proven to be a liar in court, and directors aren't going to want that baggage. Public disgrace. Blake built her career on being America's sweetheart, a feminist icon, a symbol of empowerment. But how's that image going to hold up when she's exposed as the actress who tried to destroy a man's career with false claims?
She's kind of branded herself as like the ultimate feminist.
Legal consequences, and let's not forget, could she be countersued again for damages? If Justin Baldoni wants to, he could go after her for the financial and reputational damage she's caused him. And the best part? Justin Baldoni has everything he needs to win. He's got the text messages that show Blake was friendly with him, contradicting her own claims. The video footage that proves she was never the victim she pretends to be. The court wins that are stacking up against her. Justin is playing the long game, and he's winning every step of the way. Blake Lively set this entire thing in motion, thinking she could walk away victorious. Instead, she's looking at total annihilation. Her power in Hollywood? Gone. Her reputation? Destroyed. Her career? Dead on arrival? Her bank account? Let's just say, she might need to start looking for budget-friendly options.
Including, by the way, Colleen Hoover, the one who really owed him a debt of gratitude because he bought the rights to her book. She went Team Blake. Well, guess what she just did this week? She scrubbed all of her social media of Blake Lively.
And at this point, there's nothing she can do to stop it. She has two choices. Finally admit the truth and try to salvage whatever's left of her career. Keep fighting until she goes down in flames, taking Ryan with her. Either way, this is the end of Blake Lively as we know her. And let's be clear, this is just the beginning. If this much dirt is already out in the open, imagine how much worse it's going to get when this actually goes to trial. Blake Lively isn't just losing this case, she's losing everything. This isn't just a lawsuit anymore. This is the absolute downfall of Blake Lively. And the best part? She did it to herself. Subscribe now for the full breakdown of Blake Lively's downfall. This Hollywood disaster is only getting worse.